Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to 5 Minutes of Torah with the Beth Rabbi. As you can see, I'm back in my office here in Vancouver after having been away for a number of weeks, half of which was for professional development, where I attended, as I mentioned before, the Hartman Institute, a pluralistic Jewish think tank, in which I had the opportunity to learn about Jewish and general nationalism as a concept. And also, of course, to be on a holiday with my family, especially before Avishai in just a couple weeks is about to begin university, off to Montreal to McGill. I did one of my videos from, a couple of my videos actually, from Jerusalem, and spoke about our trip to Paris, and also did one of the videos from Cape Town. Our last days in South Africa were actually spent in Johannesburg, and we carefully planned that part of our trip so that we would be in South Africa, in the Southern Hemisphere, for Tisha B'Av, the Jewish Memorial Day, which is a fast day, in which we fast in memory of the destruction of both the First and Second Temple and some of the worst incidents in our history. And as we mark Tisha B'Av, we are remembering not only anti-Semitism, the causes of, and how we as Jews have responded to some of the worst events in our history. We decided that while we were going to be in Johannesburg for Tisha B'Av, that we would not only experience the reading of Eicha as part of the Jewish community and in the midst of the Jewish community of Johannesburg, which I should say is incredibly vibrant and very strong, and we really had a great pleasure spending time in the Johannesburg Jewish community, which has over 20 kosher restaurants for a community of nearly 50,000 Jews. But we also decided that we would spend Tisha B'Av itself specifically doing things that were appropriate to the day. So, for example, my family and I went to the Apartheid Museum, which was fascinating and sad all at the same time, and yet very educational, and gave not only Lissa and me, but our children as well, a great insight into apartheid and what took place, and not only with apartheid itself, but then eventually the end of apartheid and how all of South Africa was able to respond to that. And then, at the end part of the day, we went to Soweto, which was a township established for black people during the apartheid era and continues to be almost entirely black today. It has over 1 million residents, some of which today actually has some very nice homes, but the majority of which are not so nice. Some of Soweto are homes that are a little better for people who are struggling, but established homes by the government in order to try to give people real housing. And yet many of the over 1 million people who live in Soweto live in absolute squalor, live in tin shacks. And my family and I actually took a walking tour of one of those neighborhoods. And what was fascinating to see was that some people who are living within this squalor have dedicated themselves to actually improving the living situations for everyone. And they've actually established, again, in a tin shack, a place for young children to go when their parents aren't around, or if their parents simply aren't able to take care of them. We walked into this little tin shack, and there were some great educational materials in there. And then we looked at the boxes that were holding the educational materials, and we saw Hebrew, and we saw stickers of Stars of David. And I actually asked the person who was running the program, "Do you know what this word means, Ahava?" And he said no, and I said, "It means with love." And then I showed him another word in Hebrew, and I said, "Oh, this actually means educational materials." And he said to me, "You know that all of these materials were provided by the Israeli embassy. And in fact, you just missed the ambassador. He was just here." And so I was a little bit upset that I missed the ambassador. But I have to say I was really proud. I was proud to be Jewish. And I was proud for what Israel is doing. Honestly, with a population that has nothing to do with Israel. Actively going out of its way in order to make this world a better place. Tisha B'Av, according to Jewish tradition, is a day in which we not only remember the destruction of the temple, but according to Jewish tradition, it was destroyed because of Sinat Chinam, because of free hate. Now, I can't say that I really believe in the idea of 100% of divine punishment and divine reward, but I do believe that what we do creates a reality. And thus, what Israel is doing in South Africa, what Israel is doing for people who are in need around the world, is extremely important. And Dafka to see this on all days, but on Tisha B'Av, is a reminder that even in the worst of days, in the worst of our times, even in the midst of what has happened to us in terms of anti-Semitism, we need to make sure that the rest of the world is taken care of to the best of our ability. Shabbat Shalom.